What's up, everybody? It is a Blue Drake, and today we're going to be talking about a upcoming game that you guys have been begging me to talk about. Welcome to 6 Days in Fallujah. Now, this is a game that looks really promising. It also looks like it's built on Unreal Engine 4, although I haven't confirmed that yet. I'm not sure if it actually says that in one of the videos, but it does look very similar to Unreal Engine 4, although it could be something else. And it is in a pre-alpha state. And there's a lot of games that are actually coming out recently, and this is something I predicted a while ago, was that Unreal Engine 4 is really picking up speed, and there's going to be a lot of tactical shooters as well as tactical shooters built on other engines that I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of, because there's a lot more studios than there's ever been before. There's a lot more game developers than there's ever been before. There's just a lot more going on, which is a good thing, but it can also be exhausting to keep track of everything, and it can also kind of splinter the community sometimes if there's too many games that come out. Now, 6 Days in Fallujah, I think, is really bringing some awesome, cool, interesting things to the table. The procedurally generated environments, I think, are really, really interesting. And there's a bunch of other games that I've seen utilizing similar technology. There is a program called Houdini, which is being utilized for a bunch of different games now that really does specialize in creating not just procedural environments, but also procedural assets like houses, stuff like that. And there's some other tech as well that's kind of being leveraged to take advantage of procedurally generated environments that I think we're going to start seeing seep into more and more video games. Now, this is a game that is very different from what it was originally shown off to be way back in the day. I mean, keep in mind, this game has a very interesting history. It's very old. It was canceled back when it was a completely different type of game. And now it's coming back as this first-person shooter with this very interesting set of game mechanics that they're showing off, from the procedural environments to the very hardcore tactical style shooting mechanics that I think are almost reminiscent of what you would see in something like the ISMC mod or something like that. And it's also very much grounded on realism, taking a lot of very faithful advice from people who were actually on the ground during the conflict, and I think that's really cool. So I think that this has a lot of potential. It really does have a lot of potential, and it's easy for me to get excited about a lot of games. And I think that this is definitely the type of game that if I allowed myself to be, I would definitely be excited about this one as well. But with how many tactical shooters are coming out, one of the things that I've really been worried about, and again, this is kind of for those of you guys who know, this is almost the reason I started creating my own video game. So, for instance, Operation Harsh Doorstop, which is our project that we're building, is going to be free. And the reason it's going to be free is because there are so many $30, $40, $50 tactical shooters on the market that are using a lot of the same assets, a lot of the same engines. So it's a really cool project, but I'm interested to see what the asking price for it is going to be. And also another thing that I'm really concerned about, and this is something that I think is almost more concerning, not necessarily about them, but just the potential of this happening. Another thing is that a lot of games that pride themselves on being historically accurate and faithful, I think that is almost a little bit more unsettling to me. Not because I think that's a bad thing. I think faithfulness in video games and in historical accuracy is really, really important. But now that we live in an era where post-launch, a game comes out and then later, it gets sold to another publisher, it gets sold to another studio, the original developers leave for whatever reason, the vision kind of gets lost, and then all of a sudden you start seeing this new publisher, this new set of developers who maybe don't understand the culture or the community, start introducing things that really shouldn't be there. microtransactions that shouldn't be there, DLC that shouldn't be there, things that can sometimes almost be like insulting, like quite frankly, to not just the community but also the historical faithfulness of the game itself. And I think that 6 Days in Fallujah is one of those games that I'm going to be watching really, really closely, because since it is focusing so much on that, I feel like that means that if something bad were to happen, like if they were to introduce some form of DLC, or even a future developer or publisher that like takes control of the project were to do the same thing and introduce something that really shouldn't be there, it would be so much worse. Like the backlash would be times 1,000. So I'm really interested in this project. I think that this is a game that it's definitely controversial, not just necessarily. I think it's interesting because we're going forward, we're going to have layers of controversy, because first off, there is the layer of controversy where the original game was canceled because of the sensitive nature of covering Fallujah, which I've never really fully understood, because there's lots of other games that cover Fallujah that are also based on historical accuracy. So I think that that wasn't really a good reason to cancel the project. But I think the other controversy that's probably going to happen is this is a game that has now really advertised itself as a faithful historical recreation of the events that happened. And I think now that they've put themselves in a position where they've set that expectation, I know for a fact that the tactical community and the types of people that play this game are going to be watching them like a hawk, And I think honestly they kind of should be watched like a hawk. I think there's a lot of games out there that come out and say, hey, we really believe in historical accuracy and we really believe in the community, and then they'll introduce things into the game, or they'll try to introduce microtransactions that show that they really don't. They don't get it, and they don't really understand what happened. And maybe there's a couple people in the studio that do, but then you'll have studios that just kind of, the publisher or whatever the political environment is to make it happen, they'll introduce something that is just so tone deaf that it just kind of so this is that kind of situation that I'm interested in. It's like, okay, this game is going to come out. It looks dope. It kind of looks like it's got SWAT style. You're stacking on doors. This is kind of what everybody wants, which means, they've got that many more people watching them, and it's that much more important that they don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. You cannot mess this up. You cannot. It would be devastating. Oh man, would it be devastating. And I'm pretty excited about this. We've only seen one weapon. You've only got the one rifle that they've shown. I haven't seen anything else. I like how you can have different styles of aiming over your sights. I think that's really cool. In fact, there's a lot of other games. It's really interesting because when we're working on a lot of our own games, or when I'm seeing modders creating mods for different games, it's almost like a lot of people are having the same ideas at the same time. So the ISMC mod is incorporating a lot of different shooting styles into the game. Operation Harsh Doorstop has a lot of plans to do the same, and now we're seeing something from 6 Days in Fallujah where you've got different shooting styles where you're not just locked down the iron sight, where you're not just which kind of can obscure your vision. So I think that's really, really cool. I'm interested to see how those mechanics for controlling your shots and controlling the different types of way that you aim down the side. Like, it kind of seems here like you can almost kind of like lock to the it's almost like a cover system. I don't know. It's interesting. And then you can also iron sight as well. Very curious indeed. But yeah, this looks very cool. I'm very interested in this project. I think one of the reasons that I've not wanted to make a video on it yet is because I'm kind of afraid to. I've seen games like that. Like, so for instance, another game that I was super into was Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising. And I feel like Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising was very similar to this. It was very similar to this in the pitch, in like the vision, everything. And I feel like it's Operation Harsh Doorstop Dragon Rising is also a testament on how things can go wrong when a game like that somehow gets into the wrong hands. Because like there's people on those teams that love the game and they love the history and they love what it represents. But then for whatever reason, it'll always somehow land in the wrong hands and it just goes south so fast. So that's the thing. I'm curious to see what happens. I think this is awesome. I mean, this is a wet dream. Like, I think everybody wants this game to exist. But I've been hurt before. And I don't want to get hurt again for the billionth time. So we're gonna wait and see. We're gonna wait and see, even though I am excited. I do think it's cool. I don't know. Obviously, this is a game that has a big focus on cooperative and kind of like single-player style game mode. At least that's what they've shown off before. We haven't seen anything about multiplayer yet, so we'll have to see what that could look like if it's going to be incorporated at all. We'll just have to see. But yeah, so very interested, very cool. Very, what's the word? Not skeptical. It's not even that I'm skeptical. Like, it's obviously a game that is, like, I feel like if you were to compare this to something like Project Ill. So, like, Project Ill is another project that I'm really excited about. But one of the reasons I'm excited about it is because there's no big publisher. There's no big studio. It's just a bunch of goofy guys making a game that they want to make and that they love. And I'm at a point in my career and at a point as a gamer as well where I almost kind of trust studios like that, trust studios built on passion like indie teams. I almost trust them more than teams that have this budget and this, like, who knows what things are at play here in the background. And we've seen so many other games and so many other studios lose their way. It would be a shame to get excited about this and then watch this studio lose its way as well. Not to say that that is going to happen. Not to say that that's going to happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I mean, for all we know, this is going to come out, and then for the next 10 years, the studio is going to set the standard on like how to not be a crappy publisher, or like a crappy studio. I'm down, but I feel like it would be neglectful of me to get excited about this without pointing out those concerns, where it's like, yo, do this right. Like, do this right. Everyone is watching you. Do this right. And I think hopefully that means a lot more coming from me because, I come from like a tactical shooter background, and maybe one of the reasons I'm a little bit more hesitant to get excited about this is because it's so close to like my heart, and I feel like if you've got somebody like me who usually gets excited about everything being like, yo, don't mess this up. Like, you better not mess it up, man. So yeah, so it's cool. Like you have all these guys, and all these guys are putting their face on this product, and they're giving their recounts of what happened. This is awesome. Like, that's amazing. There is love in this project. There really is. Get it right. Get it right, dude. So yeah, looking forward to playing it. Looking forward to seeing it. I think it's awesome. Please don't release this game and then 6 months later put out a bunch of $5 like Technicolor skins for your guns. Don't do that. Don't do that, dude. Don't even. I don't even. There needs to be like a contract, or like there needs to be a way for a studio to like show that it will never do that. Where it's like, hey, we're going to release this game, and here is like this pledge or like this contract or like something where it is then like illegal for that to have happened. Is that possible? Could you do that? where it's like, hey, we're going to release this game, and here's this contract we're going to sign to our consumers where we pledge to never change this product in this way. And if we do, you can file a class action lawsuit or something. Like, that's how it should be. Because there's no other. It's weird because there's no other guarantee that won't happen, which I think is weird. All right, that's it. Let me know what you guys think. I know there's been a lot of people talking about this project. I think it's really cool. This is totally the kind of thing that I would normally cover, so I'm sorry for not covering it earlier. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the matter. I think this is a really cool game. But it's hard to trust people anymore. It's hard to trust studios anymore. And it's got some really cool mechanics. Like, this is awesome, right? Like, this procedural landscape stuff is awesome, But there's nothing stopping this feature from being in any other game, So, like, yeah, this procedurally generated environment stuff is cool, but if they come out with this and then say, hey, we've got procedurally generated environments, but then they end up doing other stuff that's like kind of morally questionable, then having those good features wouldn't excuse doing those bad things. And I've seen so many other studios do that. Oh, man, am I that jaded now? God, I'm that jaded. I can't believe. This is how I feel like this is how exhausted the tactical community is. Is like you have a thing that comes out like this, and the first thing I think is like all of the ways that they could mess it up and just take advantage of people. God. Oh, God. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Let me know in the comments below what you think. This game looks dope. 6 days in Fallujah dev team. Do it right, man. Do it right. Take care.